HBCU Stroll. I got a great friend of mine that's going to be coming on, but just talk about my weekend. This weekend, I went down to Tigerland again at Texas Southern University. They invited back some of the former players. We happen to be playing the Grambling State Tigers, which I take my hat off to Coach McKinney, hit his coaching staff. He had the kids up and ready, and we got a big victory uh, in front of the former football player alumni. The score was 41-7, a big win for Texas Southern, who don't normally just beat Grambling. Right now we're 5-5, and we're looking to go down to A&M and have a winning season. Alabama A&M played Jackson State tough this week, so it was a lot of great football. Had opportunity to watch some of the games on ESPN Plus. I want to thank my next guest coming up. We go back a long way. His first job was with uh, Alabama State, which my brother was the head coach and I was assistant head offensive coordinator, and he worked as my receiver coach. And we gave him his first job. He was raw, but if you look at him now, he's the interim first black head coach in all the sports at the University of Nebraska. My friend, head coach Mickey Joseph.
What's going on, fellas? What's happening, GC?
Hey, what's going on, coach, man? Look, you,
Good.
you sitting up in the big office, baby.
Yeah, look, I tell them all the time, I'm renting this office right now. I'm
I,
renting it.
I tell you, man, I got to give you your flowers, man. You've been a outstanding guide to us, to other black coaches. We all root for you. Your accomplishments through your career. Of course, I followed your career. You were a successful head coach at Langston University. You went down to Alcorn, where y'all, I think you was on those championship teams there
It
as
was like in the
well.
championship with Jay Hobson.
Yeah, and we've had been under some great leadership, so it doesn't surprise us, And I'll say it, I can say it. You're a little different. You're a little different African American head football coach. You're your own person. Your background coming out of Louisiana. Your brother's a big time football coach, so we know that you got a lot of confidence in the decisions and the moves you make is from your confidence and how you feel things should look.
Well, first of all, thank you and LC for believing in me. But I worked more with you and learned more from you when I was a young receiver coach. I do remember the time when the receivers didn't play very well on a Saturday. Monday, you was in my individual. You was like, I'm gonna show you about this individual what you need to do. Because we had some
Yeah,
drops. But
yeah,
I remember learning from that. Not getting the attitude about it, just learning. And UNLC, y'all kind of guided me through this, and y'all always been a part of me about how to do things in this profession, because this is a tricky profession if you don't understand it and see it for what it is.
yeah.
And I always say I did it my way. I didn't have to bow down to anybody. I didn't have to kiss anybody's ass to get where I'm at today. That I did it my way. I was loyal to when I worked, and if I had to move on, I may have moved on for more money. I always went to the highest bidder, and I think sometimes coaches, oh man, I'm not gonna do that. I'm gonna be loyal. Yeah, but you got to be loyal to yourself first,
And
and
your
then you can
family.
be loyal to the university, because when you dead and gone, them universities gonna still be playing ball and they still gonna be functioning. So when you get a chance to be loyal to yourself, you got to take the advantage of it. And I learned how to do that. And having my brother, Vance been in the league, and Terry at Texas, and Sammy at Memphis, everybody's in it. Everybody's in it. So we feed off each other, um, about how we should do things. And
Mhm.
and that's a great thing to have, when you have family members involved in it.
Yeah. One of the things you said earlier, because we jumping off in, you said that you learned a lot from me and LC, and we were direct, up in your face kind of coaches. It seems like, and then of course both of us are out of coaching. It seems like the guys that came up underneath us only remember those times.
Hmm.
And that's the thing that I've said about you. we could have some disagreements, but then we'll go out and and make sure that we both on the same page. But,
Exactly.
we cared about each other. We
Exactly.
didn't look at each other as coaches. We looked at each other as helpers. We gonna help each other out and be successful. And we went on to win the East Division championship.
Yeah. And I mean, and that's what people don't understand. And I always tell them this, I don't worked at the HBCU 4 times, Alabama State, Langston, Alcorn State, and Grambling. So I've been on that spot, but I also been on every level, from NAIA all the way up to Power Five SEC, and now the Big Ten. But one thing I learned that in I can be myself, and I'm not going to be anything other. And my big thing is communicating with kids, making sure you communicate, make sure you're listening to them, and make sure you're giving them real advice and not advice that you sugarcoating it with them. Because what happens, they live in that type of world right now, where people sugarcoat things, and then when they don't get it right, I really meant this. No, you understood what I said the first time. You need to get this done. And I think with this team, what this team's been under, with the change in leadership, I take my hat off to these kids because they haven't quit. They hadn't quit. They've been in every fight. They've been fighting. They've been fighting, and they're gonna continue to fight. It shows that a character, but it's what we demand as a staff, that you come out here, you practice hard, and you know that we care about you. And I think these kids, when your kids know these days, know you care about them, you can coach them really hard. And if you don't care about them, then they see right through you. And
Yeah.
some people think they don't, but they do.
Yeah, so I mean, I got the same philosophy you that people be like, oh, well, these kids today are different. Yeah, they got more pressure on them
Hmm.
because they got more choices. But
Yeah.
sometimes when you have them in a box, they want to be on the football team. They love the discipline. And I
Yeah.
love that you said that you can't buy in and let quote unquote the prisoners run the prison. You got to be able to direct them in the right direction because you are the coach. And they not.
No.
But a lot of coaches get seduced with talent.
Yeah.
And the other part is I know I like what you said, and I've seen you coaches. I don't care about the helmet. I care about the person who's wearing the helmet.
Yes, inside the helmet. No, exactly, and that's what because there's so much money that's involved in college football right now that guys tend to forget about the kid. Forget the kid. Like I said, I do. Don't get me wrong. I go to the highest bidder, but at the end of the day, I still care about that kid once I get there. And people say, "Well, that's that you confusing me." I'm not confusing you because universities gonna take care of themselves, and they're gonna make sure the university is straight.
Right.
So as coaches, you got to make sure you're straight.
Yeah. 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 Oh, without a doubt. I mean, finance and taking care of your family is very important. And kind of like that's my show that black coaches or coaches, period, that are colored, we don't get the opportunities that our counterparts get, and a lot of it's about economics. You know
Hmm.
what I mean? Because you got guys that have never even coached before getting jobs, where you got a guy that's been in the business a long time. So, when you talk about what's loyalty, like you say, universities are not loyalty. At the end of the day, they want you to win.
They want you to win, and that's everything comes down to wins and losses in this profession as a head coach. If you can win enough games, then you can stay around. But if you can't, then you won't stay around. And I mean, and I don't know if guys don't look at it that way anymore, but I think you have to because the school can only make money if you're winning, if you're getting the bowl games, and
Yeah.
so that's my honest opinion.
Well, I'm in the HBCU realm. I've been there most of my career, but I've coached on the Division 1A level as well, and NAIA and high school, and that's the thing about the bad thing about black coaches we get on. Are we professional?
Hmm.
Each guy is his own individual. The color shouldn't matter, but it
No.
but it does, and I and that's the unfairness of this business when 75% of your football players that we're talking about football are kids of color, but 90% of the people who coaching them, or 95%, 98% of the people who are coaching them don't look like them. And I don't think it's so much of a racist thing. I think it's just so much of a we need to be in more administrative places thing to make different decisions.
Yeah, and I think when you look at it, it's been like that. It's been like that for a long time.
Yeah.
It's been like that, and I think that when you look at it as an African American coach, you know, we know that we organize, we know that we thorough, but we get labeled as recruiters. I mean, at LSU, they used to always say, "Well, Mickey, you got some great players," and I used to always say, "Yeah, they're coaching themselves," and I'm like, "That's bad on you if he's coaching himself and he's winning," but because we labeled as recruiters, but we have a lot of good African American coaches.
Right.
I think one of the things with the HBCU right now is what Dion's doing. Showing that he's a great coach, and he's a leader of men right now, and I think he's bringing more exposure to HBCU football about what he's doing, and
Yeah.
I think that it can't do nothing but get better. That's
Yeah.
all. That's all you can sit back and say. It can't do nothing but get better.
And then one of the things, we sometimes we need to stop looking at our counterparts and look at each other.
Yes.
What I mean? We put these labels on ourselves.
Hmm.
I know I've been coaching. They talk about the chicken league. You know what I mean? Or they want to get into, some happening personally with you. Everybody makes mistakes. Everybody
Hmm.
have been through some ups and downs. But
Yes.
at the end of the day, we need to keep it professional when we're choosing coaches. Is Kenny coach? Can he get the job done?
Yeah.
And I think we do more on ourselves. I mean, it takes Bruce Arrington to hire a staff full of African Americans, offense and defensive coordinator, to go on and win the Super Bowl. You can't get no better than that.
Hmm.
You know what I mean? You take LC Cole, myself, get into a PWI conference, a power white institutions. I should say power, I say predominantly. And we get in there and win all the championships, 2 years in a row, but yet we don't love ourselves. You know what I mean? Our phone should have been ringing off the hook, but it never was. So, to see you in that position, and I know it's tough. You take over somebody else's philosophy, it's somebody else's team, it's somebody else's really recruits, somebody else's staff, and then here come Mickey Joseph. Man, you got to get that thing turned. I think you're doing a great job, just making those kids play tough every week.
Yeah, and I think just the hat off to the administration and Trev and President Carter and Chancellor Green from believing in me, believing that I can lead this program in an interim position, to do that, and also to the staff for buying into what I wanted, and also a big shout out to the kids, the players. My players they've been top notch, Johnny. I'm talking about top notch. They could easily sat back and quit, but they have no quit in them. We hadn't been getting the results that we've been looking for, but we come out and fight every week, and we fight for 60 minutes.
Right.
Now, my thing is, are we going to get better? We're going to continue to get better, and sometimes you can't see it. Sometimes you can't see it. You got to keep working, and then all of a sudden it's going to show up. I remember, when we got to Alabama State, I thought they won 3 or 4 games the year before.
Two.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and we went on, like you say, we went on, and they couldn't see it in the spring when we got there. They thought these coaches are coaching with their hair on fire, and we not used to it. But once we got them through a summer and got them back to fall camp, and they got that first win, then they start believing. And I think that's what with these kids, they keep continue to fight, and and we're gonna go into this Wisconsin game, throwing everything we have at them, to get the win because they've been putting in the work. So I take my hat off, to the whole situation, and then people say, well, you inherit you inherit those players. No, once I said I would take over this, then they become my kids. They become my kids, and I gotta function with them because they're mine now, and I got to get them to play, and I got to get the coaches to buy in. And like I said, but everybody's been great. I haven't had any resistance from anybody in the building.
Well, that contributes to who you are as a coach, as a person, as a family man, as a husband. the way you carry yourself. They just follow suit. Man, let's kind of, some folks tuning in and want to know who Mickey Joseph is. Man, we got to go back. Hold on, I got a question, Coach JC. What's the three top difference that you noticed between coaching at the PWI and the HBCU college?
Well, I think when you're at the HBCU, you can get that real in the stadium, in the stands as you walk into the locker room.
That
Yeah,
music, Coach, that music.
yeah, they're gonna give it to you right then and there what you need to do. And I think when you get to the other side, I think it's more, if I'm not on Twitter or anything. I think when you read it on Twitter and they more get you on Twitter and things like that, but you appreciate the realist from the HBCU because you're gonna get it. You're gonna get it. And but they have their own. They're in their own world. Like they're gonna fill it up. People don't understand when you talk about the Celebration Bowl. They have more attendance than some of these bowl games. And it's not being said all the time, but that's what I think I miss. I miss just the realness from the HBCU.
Yeah, yeah. I just say that the flavor,
Oh
the
yeah,
swag, um, uh, and like you say, looking up in the stands, you see a lot of you. You
yeah.
know, uh,
And
uh, um,
it's packed. I mean, it's a lot. It's a lot. It's a pack. It's a jam house.
yeah, yeah.
It's a jam
And
house.
then the parking lot, you got your ribs, your chitterlings, your chili, your all that great food, all the gumbo, a lot of foods that you eat. Uh, but the atmosphere at the end of the day is still when that ball was kicked off and in
It's
the
football.
PWI, everybody screaming, you know, uh, color go out the door,
Yes.
culture go out the door. It just two teams, two coaches have getting at it.
Yeah, it's just the atmosphere. I remember the first one we played in the classic was the Magic City Classic,
Woo!
and it was 60,000 in that thing,
Yeah,
and I couldn't believe it because that was my first one,
yeah,
and then I got to play in the one Jackson State and Alcorn State. Then I got to play in the one with Grambling and Southern Bayou Classic. So I was fortunate enough to play in three of those classics, and
Now remember now you played in the older one too, the Turkey Day Classic. That
yeah, with
Tuskegee.
Tuskegee. Yeah. And I didn't know who Tuskegee was, but we found out. I was like, this a D2 school? Oh
Yeah,
my goodness.
yeah,
We should be going to the playoffs.
yeah, coach. It's
Kamaji had a good program over there.
right.
He had a really good program over there. And it was some good battles. It was some good battles.
Oh yeah, yeah. So you're born in New Orleans, Louisiana.
Yes.
The what? Tell us about your family. How many brothers, sisters?
Well, just growing up in New Orleans, growing in a little town called Marrero, right on the outskirts. It's a tough. It was tough growing up because you seen a lot. You seen a lot now. What to do and what not to do.
Yeah,
And we seen guys not making it who was more talented than us. But we had a dad. We had a father. We had a father that grew up on the streets, and he was able to hip us to what was going on when we stepped outside that house because
right,
you grew up there. You grew up in Dayton. So the chances of you leaving that house and returning, it was 50-50. And parents knew that because of the neighborhood, the situation you were growing up in, the environment. So you always had to get those speeches. If you feel like trouble about to start, you need to go this way.
right.
If you feel like he tripping, you need to leave him there and you need to leave. So you had to get those speeches before you left the house. But Vance is old. Vance been a head coach in the NFL with the Broncos. Now he's with the Cardinals. My brother Sammy started off at Nickel State, and now he's at Memphis. And Terry's been all over. Terry's been at Texas A&M, Nebraska. Now he's at Texas. You
Now,
know,
where you lay at in the four brothers?
I'm the oldest.
Oh,
I'm the
wow.
oldest. I tell him what to do.
Oh man, them young bucks.
Yeah, I tell him
Oh,
what. Hey, look, they got more money than me though, so I got to keep them happy.
hey, look, you on your way. You gonna catch up.
Well,
Just, just don't forget your friend.
no, I never that. Never you're in LC.
So
It's
so
just
who's So you led them. Did you always play quarterback? So
Yeah,
you kind of started to
yeah, I
the
always played quarterback, and then Vance came behind me, and then my cousin Terry was a receiver, but he was a really good baseball player, so he got drafted to baseball. And then Derek came, and Derek was a quarterback, played at Tulane, and then Sammy came, he was a corner, and he played at LSU. So
so
you know,
did your daddy play sports?
my daddy played baseball. My daddy went to
Oh,
Lincoln High School, played baseball, and back in Marrero. But like I said, our dads were all our dads were there. And
okay,
because Terry and Derek, they're my cousins. But you grew up under the same roof. You wore the same clothes.
right,
And
right,
same socks. So
right.
they always kept us close. They always kept us tight, and that's why we tight to today. And
Okay.
and
You
people
come
say,
out of high school, you're a bad boy. You
yeah,
get heavily recruited.
uh-huh,
Did any HBCUs recruit you, first of all?
Southern.
Okay. All
Southern,
right.
Southern, Southern did offer me a scholarship. I got
Who was
it.
the head coach at the time?
I think Coach Otis Washington. I think Coach
Otis
Washington
Washington.
was.
Yeah.
I'm not sure, but I'm thinking Coach Washington because I think he had just came from St. Augustine and went
Yeah.
up.
Yeah.
So he was up there. But so they did recruit me.
And you leave New Orleans flavor, gumbo, dancing in the street,
Yeah,
and hot, great weather, and you go all the way up
to Nebraska.
to Nebraska.
Well, it was between Oklahoma and Nebraska, and my mom really liked Coach Osborne, just like LC,
Yeah.
like Coach Osborne and Coach Devaney. But they enjoyed it, and when he came to the house and what he was going to do and his plans for me, and at the time I needed probably Coach Osborne more than I needed Coach Switzer. Coach
Oh,
Switzer was more, he was more like, hey Mickey, that's okay. Osborne wasn't going to be like that. He was going to be like, no, this is what you need to do. And then, like I said, I met with Coach Osborne this morning. I meet with him every Monday at 10:30, and he's
okay.
he's one of the big reasons that I'm up here. But he's one of the big reasons that I took the interim job also, in Trev because Coach Osborne was here, and I know he liked to see things done a certain way. He knew I was going to do it this way, and Trev, being my teammate, that helped also. But John, we've been in this thing a while. We've been in this thing a while, and the youngest boy, Sammy Joseph's at Memphis right now, and he's got a bright career in it. He got a bright career, and we just try to do things the right way. We try to do it the right way. We try to make sure that we fair with
Yeah.
each other and fair, with our decisions when it's time to make decisions.
Now, how did Tom called LC,
Hmm.
you had finished playing, I think you got hurt, and I guess you started like kind of GAing.
Yeah, Tony
Call
Tony
LC,
Samuels,
Tony Samuels.
because
Okay.
I was at Tulane GA, and
Yeah,
I,
yeah, Tony.
and Tony Samuels called me. He said LC just got because y'all had left Tennessee State, and when
Yes,
I looked it up, y'all had won 2 championships in Ohio Valley, and I was like, okay,
yeah.
they coming down to Alabama, and Tony Samuels called me, and he said, hey, are you interested in it if I can get you this job? And I had GA'd, for just that semester. I was like, oh yeah, I can do that. And I remember taking Trooper Taylor dealer car and driving it to Montgomery. And I was sitting there waiting, and when we gonna talk some football? And that's when you said, no, you're gonna be okay. We just want to see what type of person you are.
Yeah,
We football. You know football, and what you don't know, we're gonna teach you.
yeah,
And so I was like nervous the whole time. I'm like, man, I ain't gonna get this job.
yeah,
And then LC came and said, hey, what about if I pay you 30,000? I said, I'll take it. He said, I'm joking. I'm gonna pay you 35. I said, I'm in. I'm in. And
yeah.
it's so
But
many young
but but
coaches these
see
days, they look
that's
for
the
big money.
things that yeah, that's the things that sometimes these young coaches don't understand about this system. It's important to get a good mesh
Yes.
of coaches. You know what I'm saying? That's some that's hungry, some that's come from the same system you come from, and
Hmm.
that and that's so important. Now
Yes.
I know Big Red football.
Uh-huh.
LC went there, first black All American. I'm gonna give my 2 cents. We messed up when we got rid of Solich. I can say this. You can't say this.
Yeah.
Because Solich ran it just like Tom. Then
Uh-huh.
we got Callahan came in there. Man, man, up north football ain't like down south football. You can't be throwing that thing all around. You
I said,
know, we got the pound and ground, and we'll get two or three. I remember Junior Miller and all those cats, man, and Roger Craig and I am Hip and man, 'cause we got to run that football. But that's my two
yeah.
cents.
Well,
But man, I you know I you got all the ingredients, man, and I just hope and pray that they make. I'm gonna say they make the right decision and keep a Nebraska man in there who knows what it took to win them games. So okay, then when you came with us at Alabama State, and then quickly, was it 2 years or 1 year or a year and a
one,
half?
one year and a half. Then I went to Nickel State,
Nickel State.
back to Louisiana to be the quarterback coach.
Yeah, I remember you came in and talked to me about that.
Yeah, and being a quarterback coach, and it was more just going back home. With my younger brother was still there, and I left him. I left him when I was he was 7 years old when I left him. And I had been gone for a while, and I knew that he wasn't gonna be street minded like Vance and I was. So it was a chance for me to go back and help my parents, raise him through them streets because we still was living in that same neighborhood, and I knew he was a target. He was a target. To the guys in the street. So going back and helping my mom and dad with him and making sure he was good and he understood what was going on out there because dad had got a little older. So it was a move. It was a more of a family move going back.
See, Coach, too, what folks don't know about you, you've had some highs and you had some low lows, meaning in the coaching profession when you was coaching those kids down in, I think it's
Besides,
during the pandemic as well. You weren't always just, these great jobs. You
no,
had a low as well.
well, no, and that's what people don't understand. I thought when I was at Langston, we had a winning record, and I get let go, and I get let go because it's personal reasons, but it's a guy on my staff that I told not to do something and he did it. And next thing you know, they let me go for that guy. And to
Right.
this day, me and that guy don't talk. It's no let bygones be bygones. But it's things like that you think you're doing things the right way and it lets you go. So
Yeah.
I've been with the highs and the lows, and even at Desire Street Academy,
That's what it
Desire
was.
Street Academy, Katrina hit. I'm thinking we're gonna see the kids in a couple of days, and next thing you know, you don't see them for 2 weeks. So you got to go to Texas, and you got to get them, and then we move them to Florida to Camp Timpucci. So you leave your biological family to go with these boys, and you're there in October in Florida all the way to April, and you're working 7 days a week, 24 hours a day, because you're a coach, you're a dorm dad, you're everything. And you
Right.
talking about kids from New Orleans that hadn't been out of the state of New Orleans, hadn't been out of the city of New Orleans. I mean, and you had to take care of them 24/7, and they had some mental issues, like we did, because they don't lost everything from the hurricane. They don't know where all their families at, and everybody's displaced. So everything's all over the place. So you asking a 13-year-old kid to look at this situation and say everything is going to be okay. That wasn't happening. But you know what? I always say this: it was the best coaching job of my career, and I wouldn't trade it. I wouldn't trade it. And that's when people say, "Well, is this job too big for you?" No, because half them guys that's coaching at these Power Fives, if I put them in that situation, they're gonna fold. They're gonna fold because it was easy to fold. But I wasn't gonna fold. I wasn't gonna leave those kids, and I wasn't gonna leave the kids just because of the situation it was in and the hand that was dealt. Because they were, like I said, they were my kids. Once I accepted that job, and even with Katrina, I'm going to get them. I'm going to get them. I'm gonna bring them, and I'm gonna make sure they're okay. And that's how
Well,
we look at it right here to this day.
yeah. Well, it would be remiss that if me and you don't talk about this one guy uh, um, who actually, helped me through my times and also gave you, your opportunity, and then also taught you about the administrative part. Is Patrick
Hmm.
Simon, who was the athletic director at Langston,
Yes.
who, that's how I met him. I met him through you, and even today we still at least talk once a week. What's your thoughts Coach.
Well,
I call him Coach.
I know. Hey, I know he cussing me out right now because I hadn't talked to him in a while.
Don't
But
worry about it. We talk about you, so I
yeah, but
represent you.
he was a big person that influenced me in my life, and he believed in me at Langston,
Yeah,
to give me the job. And but he also when I was, because when you're at Langston, you had them small schools, you got to be DFO, position coach, special team. You got to do like 4 jobs at once. And people always want, for how much? Well, it was 28,000. You know what I mean? So, but you at the time you was learning, and he showed me, you know, the administration part of the business. So when it was time to move on to different places, well, can you do this? Oh yeah, can you do travel? Yeah, I know how to do travel. I know how to set travel up. I know how to set the practice fields up. I know how to align the field. So you learned all that. But
right.
but but Simon was hard on you now. He was hard on you. When you made a mistake, he came down on you, but he told you why. He told you
Right.
why he was coming out on you. And at the end of the day, he wanted to win, baby. So,
Yeah,
hey,
yeah,
I'm gonna win, baby.
yeah.
But he wanted to do it the
He,
right way. He wanted to do it the right way.
yeah, yeah, yeah. One of the guests asked, "What are at least two things that you think that can get Nebraska football program to its prominence?"
Well, I think the one thing is
Well, I'm
that
gonna put one in. I don't mean to interrupt you. They need to hire you. Now go ahead.
yeah. But I think the one thing we got to get out, and we got to get back to playing physical football. We got to get back, like you say, getting back downhill and running the ball back downhill and stopping the run also. And then another thing we got to do, we got to be really aggressive in recruiting down south, because right now where Nebraska sits at, it doesn't sit in like Louisiana, Texas, Georgia, in the middle in the middle of a whole bunch of talent. So now you got to go out and get it. So now you got to make sure you got the right coaches going to the right areas, and make sure that you're bringing the right kids up here. And so now with the portal and the JUCO kids, you got to really do your research on it. So you really got to be thorough and detailed in your recruiting once you get a kid up here. Because when you bring a kid from New Orleans to Lincoln, trust me, it's a different atmosphere. But I've been through it, so I can explain to the kid and make sure he stay here. Now, once you recruit him, now you got to keep him here, because what I'm learning about this conference, this is a very older conference, a very mature conference with fifth year seniors, fifth year juniors, 6 year seniors because of COVID. So now once you get them here, you got to keep them here, and then you got to develop them. Then you got to develop them. And I think once you do that, that's going to get the program back to where it needs to go. And I don't think we're far off. I think we're a couple of pieces away, and once you get those pieces in here, I think you'll see that a better football team will show up in the spring, and a better football team will show up in the summer, and a better football team will show up in the fall. But you got to take it step by step with them. But it's developing them, and then also make sure you're keeping them in a program. That's the only way you can develop them, if you keep them in a program.
Right, right. You can't keep starting over and over.
No,
Well, because we're personal friends. How's Miss Joseph and the kids?
everybody's good, man. Everybody's enjoying it up here. Having a good time. Melania's
Yeah,
7, and I don't move her 4 times. So she's good though. She's a soldier, man. She takes it as it go. But that's all our kids. All our kids that they're used to the moving. They're used to the move. Like Van's daughter, she's a sophomore at USC right now. No, a junior at USC, but she moved 4 times her senior year. Her high school year. She went to 4 different high schools. So
yeah.
the kids are used to it.
Yeah. Coach Moses says it's a lost art in this business. We have to continue to develop and not look for the quick fix. I know in the HBCU realm now that Dion has came in, and now all our HBCU now is looking for that pro guy, but they don't understand that pros already have came into black college football. It
Yeah,
ain't about you playing pro ball. It's about can you coach.
yeah.
But what's your take on that?
Well, my thing is, you're right. People want a quick fix because that's what everybody's putting out there. People want you to win right now. So with the transfer portal, people want you to go in that portal, get those kids. But as you go in that portal, you got to make sure that's the right kid for your locker room. You got to make sure that kid's the right fit before you can get in there and say he's going to be a quick fix. And then when you get here, you got to see how he adjusts to where he's at. So that's why you got to do your homework on them. And I think coach is right. You gotta get up there. You gotta develop them.
Yeah, yeah. So your thoughts about how the NIL has impacted the college football game, and why did the run option game work so well during your era at Nebraska?
I think the NIL has really impacted it because now you can look at them as professionals instead of amateurs because they're getting a good bit of money. They're getting cars, they do promotion deals. So you got to make sure that you keep that under wraps and that they continue to do what they're supposed to do. And they don't get besides themselves and get the big head and start thinking that that's all the money in the world. Because trust me, once you leave Nebraska, that's going to end. So you got to either get your degree to go get a job, or you got to get yourself trained up so you can play on the next level. And
Now,
so
now, now, do you guys have NIL players?
oh yeah, I mean I think everybody in the country does. I think everybody from the SEC to Big Ten and Big 12 and Pac 12 and Conference USA. I think everybody's got NIL deals now. You know,
Now, did that go to just special players or everybody mostly on the roster?
well some people do it with the whole roster. Some people do it with individual contracts. Individual contracts. And as a coach, we prohibit. We got to stay out of it.
Yeah,
We stay out of it. So, you really don't know what the kids get sometimes, but when they don't show up for the event, they're calling you and saying, hey,
yeah,
such and such didn't show up. So you get involved like that and say, hey, you need to go there. And why the option was so good back when we ran it, because we perfected it. We did it every day, something that we did every single
you
day.
made a commitment.
Yeah, we made a commitment to it, and Coach Osborne really understood what he was doing and when we called it, because we didn't run just option. We ran ISOs, we run toss, we ran counters. We had a wide open offense when it came down to the run game. And our run game, you've seen everything from option all the way to sprint draw.
Right,
So but
right.
we perfected it, and what we talked about this morning with Coach Osborne, you got a lot of reps. You got a lot of reps doing it during the week. So we had certain plays that we're gonna run against this team, certain reps we're gonna run on this team, and we got a lot of reps during the week doing it.
Yeah, yeah. I know. When I look at this spread and you give me your uh, uh, ideal of it, I think the RPO stuff is a package. And I think when it came out and some people were scoring, and all of a sudden it just swarmed through
Yeah,
everything. I see high school out there that they got a guy can throw from here to the sideline throwing RPOs, and now that the defense have caught up, personnel wise, it's slowed down, and I see so many going full wide and need 1 yard and not getting it.
yeah. And I think when you look at it with football now, even in little league, they run the spread. Junior high they run the spread. You got to defend every inch of the football field now, from sideline to sideline, from end zone to end zone. It wasn't like that. Everything was played in the middle of the field back in the days, but now you got to defend everything. You're right. The RPOs are a big situation that you got to deal with on defense, because with the RPO, what they're not letting you do, they're not letting you get that seven guy in the box. If you get
Right,
that seven guy in the box, they're gonna throw off. They're
right.
going to throw off him, and they're going to say, hey, okay, you're going to keep bringing him down. So, and try to neutralize the defense. But like you said, it's something that you got to work. It's something
Yeah,
that you got to work day in and day out. And we did it at LSU. We did it. We worked it day in and day out. We worked it.
yeah, yeah, yeah. You got Wisconsin coming in this week. It's gonna be cold. Man, how do you guys prepare for that weather? I never knew. That is it a certain way you dress? Is it a scheme trick behind it? How do you prepare for those
Well,
that cold weather?
yeah. First of all, during the week, you got to practice in it. You got to go out in it. We can't be indoor for every period. Every special teams to be outside. The offense to come in for a period. Our team speed, we'll do that outside when we go good on good. Our scout scale, we get the quarterbacks outside so they can throw in the wind, because it could be windy in the stadium, especially in our stadium. It could be windy. So you get them in and out, but you got to be in it. You got to be in it. And the only reason we wouldn't go out if it's stormy, raining. But if it's snowing, we still will be out there. because it can snow on Saturday. You got to be in the conditions. But I tell the boys like this: you can't control the conditions. You control your attitude and you control your effort. That's two
Right.
things that you can control. And I can't snap my finger and make that weather go away. But I also tell them this: if you scared of this weather, don't tell me you want to play pro ball
Right.
because this ain't like college where you can pick where you want to go. You might have to go to Buffalo.
Right.
And you might have to go to Green Bay. So you can't
Right.
tell me. And most of the kids adjust to it very well. We played down in Michigan this past weekend. Some of our kids had no sleeves on. It was snowing for the first half,
Right.
but they had no sleeves on, and they get used to it. Put a little Vaseline, close them pores, and put the
Okay.
Vaseline in that
Okay.
body. Old school stuff, man.
Yeah, that's what
Put them
couple pair of long johns.
yeah, let's roll.
Yeah.
Let's roll.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, man, coach, you sitting there in the interim role, man. I know you think about it all the time. Are they or are they not? Thumbs up, thumbs down. If it doesn't happen for you, what happens? You talk to other people, or and I don't know if that's an appropriate question because we want you to be with your alma mater where you would love to be at. What's next for Mickey Joseph?
Well, my thing is, you do everything in your power to show them that you do deserve the job, but it's not going to be my decision. I trusted Trev and President Carter that they're going to make the right decision. And if they don't pick me, they'll I'm hoping that I could stay because I just moved everybody down here, so up here. So I wish I could stay, but at the end of the day, it's a business, and your representatives got to continue to work for you. And like say when it's no news, then those guys you pay going to continue to work, and then they'll come to you with packages from other schools and say, hey, you got this on the table, you got that on the table. What do you want to do? What do you want to do? And so my thing is sit back and I want to finish this season, and I want to finish these last two games with wins. I want to go out and play well against Wisconsin and win that game. Then want to come back next week, Thanksgiving weekend, and play Iowa, and win that game. So the only thing I'm worried about right now is this 2 game season because at the end of the year, it's going to take care of itself. But one thing I can't sit back and worry about is like, well, if I'm not going to get the job because,
Yeah.
God already know what's going to happen.
Yeah.
So, I'm talking to my mom. She already told me God already got a plan. So don't worry about it. Let it happen, and
And you're not making $35,000.
no, no, sir. No, sir. No,
But
sir.
I hear your name in Arizona. I've heard your name pop around. At these schools, Auburn.
Mhm.
Uh, of course, the HBCUs are
Yeah.
are mentioning you as well. Uh, you know, uh, I mean that have to be a great feeling.
Well, you can't rule out anything. The most professional thing you can do when you're in a situation like this is to be professional with everybody because you don't want to burn any bridges because you might have to cross that bridge. So it's to be professional with everybody who calls and want to talk, and then you get with your representative, get with your family, and say, okay, these people want to talk. If it doesn't work out here, what you want to do? Okay, then I'm sure Nebraska's going to want to talk also. But Johnny, we've been in profession long enough that you know, I seen it happen at LSU. The guy came in and he got everybody out the building.
Right.
Because at the end of the day, that's his right. His right as a coach is to hire who he want. And if he don't want to retain somebody, then he shouldn't retain them, and he shouldn't be made to retain them. So
Right.
I understand that, and that's fair. That's fair
Right.
because if I was coming in, I want the same leeway that I can be able to make the changes I see made. So we're gonna continue to work here and keep our head down and see what happens against Wisconsin and move on to Iowa. Then after that, everything is to work itself out. I might be down at that Bayou Classic on Saturday. I told
Hey,
you I might be down there.
oh, you might just come on down and
Yeah,
show your face
yeah. Show my face with Dooley, give Dooley some support.
yeah.
And working at Grambling, give them some support. But just get away, and and let your hair down a little bit, and then breathe a little bit because you hadn't been breathing since we took this thing over. It's just been
Yeah.
bang, bang, bang.
So y'all got this week and then next week as well.
Yes,
And then the Bayou Classic is what on that Thursday,
it's on that Saturday.
Saturday,
Yeah,
Saturday. Okay,
we played it Friday after Thanksgiving, so it's on that Saturday.
okay. you can take all the family down and
I
get
don't know if
some
the
done.
family want to go. I think it's probably just be me. Get me a
Oh, okay. Yeah,
get me a little plane and go myself.
yeah, yeah. So you guys are off today,
Yes,
and then y'all now do y'all morning practice or do y'all afternoon practice?
morning. We practice in the morning, so we'll have scout team meeting at 6:30, and then we'll have a team meeting at 7, and then 7:15 we'll go special teams from 7:15 to 7:35, then 7:35 to 8:15 we'll go position, and then we on the field for zero period at 8:25, and
Okay.
then we'll go from there and get the practice in. We'll be a little light tomorrow because we late in the season, so we're just gonna go shells tomorrow because we played three tough opponents, physical opponents, and so they're a little beat up. So I'm trying to get them back. So we probably won't and come back and go hammers and spiders on Wednesday and Thursday because by this time of the year, everything's in. They beat up, so now it's about getting them to the game mentally and physically that they feel good at game time because right now they're going to be beat up until game time and then they'll be
Yeah.
beat up again.
Unfortunately, not like the pros. They can go and get a couple off the sideline and draft a couple or trade a couple. You in college, you got what you got.
Yeah, you
You
can't.
got
Yeah, you
it's
can't.
late. Yeah, and ain't nobody gonna turn Superman now.
No, that's what I say. They ain't going in that phone booth and come out Superman. So you got to be smart with them, And like I said, we got a really good team, with the mentally, and they're good kids. So they're gonna come out and do what we ask them to do and play hard, and that's what we ask them just to come out and play hard, and they've been playing hard.
Yeah, yeah. If you had to give some advice to a young African American coach today, uh, you know, what would you say to him? Because with all and I'm a big advocate about hiring black coaches in black schools
Mhm.
because there's only 10% of us in the power, five conference. It ain't even that many, period. Outside of that, so where do we get head coaching experience from? I'm not
Oh,
saying that you got to be a head coach to be a good head coach, but you got to start somewhere and you got to have some some experience up underneath
well, I tell a lot of young coaches, it's probably African American coaches, don't believe this. Don't believe just because you go to HBCU that you can't come out of it and go to Nebraska or Auburn or LSU. Because at the end of the day, you got to look at it for work that job like it's your last job. And I'm talking about work it and study your craft. Work on your craft. And don't worry about when people say, hey, you're a recruiter. Yes, okay, that's good. Because at the end of the day, I never seen a bad coach with good players. I never seen a good coach with bad players. So you got to go out and get you some players, but you got to make sure your room's right. And that's the only selfishness that you got to have when you're an assistant coach. And then you got to study assistant head coaches that you like. You got to have your own philosophy. You got to put your book together. I mean, y'all taught me that. You got to have a game plan. You just show me, hey, look, this is what I got. I got to look good for this job. This is what you got to do. And I tell people that all the time. I say one thing about being with you, being with LC, also being with Broderick Fobbs and being with Jay Hobson, who was the first white head coach in the SWAC. And he's always say, well, Mickey, I've been white my whole life, and people say I'm black. The first black head coach, I say, okay, I've been black my whole life.
that.
But the study your craft,
Yeah,
and be loyal to the person that you're working to, and also watch the company that you keep because so many guys once you get successful get on that train and they're not on that train to help you. They're on that train so they can benefit. And when things don't go their way, then they want to shush you about you. Or he didn't do this or he did that. And all along, he jumped on the train and you didn't even ask him to. He just started showing up to act. So you got to watch the company that you keep. And you know me, I still talk to the same dudes that I've been talking to since 1999, and and I can count on my 10 fingers the guys I do talk to.
yeah,
But the people I do talk to a lot is my brothers and my
yeah,
cousin. But you got to watch the company you keep also, because there's a lot of jealousy out here within us,
Right, right.
and like you said, we kill each other
Yeah.
sometimes.
And,
So
and we swimming over that one or two positions, and we'll kill the other person.
yeah, and that's what I tell young coaches all the time. Just be loyal to the guys that you're working with.
Yeah, yeah. Question: what is it like having to address booster clubs, sponsors, community supporters for a Big 12 legacy program as the head coach?
Well, I think, when I address the boosters here, you know, they ask me a question. I never say next question. I answer their questions with an honest opinion, and let them know what's going on. Now, if they ask me something about injuries or something like that, then I want to keep that to myself. Then I don't answer it. But I talk to them, what we're doing as a program. And then when you get out in the community, you're being truthful with them and letting them know that you're a leader of men, and that you can get these kids to do some things that people can't get them to do. Like I heard you say it before. The kids have changed. I don't think the kids have totally changed. Besides, they got a lot of other stuff going on. I think a lot of coaches have changed, because a lot of coaches, they have changed the way. Okay, I'm gonna be easy on them now. No, you know, when they come in the building, make it 4th and 1 every day they come in the building, and put a little pressure on them, because they're not getting pressure outside the building. So I try to be upfront with these boosters.
Yeah, yeah. I, hey, you've been around, you've always been a professional guy, and we really, really uh, look up to you, and the things that you and your family has done. Uh, uh, so your one brother was a head coach. Did you guys get a? I know a lot of people ask you, why did you never go to the Denver Broncos, when your head coach, your brother was the head coach over there?
Well, they had a nepotism, and some type of way they came up with nepotism when he took over.
Oh
And
wow,
I didn't understand it either, because Kubiak was there and he had his son there, so I didn't understand the nepotism, what was going on. So we didn't really worry about it too much, you know. And at the end of the day, I really enjoy college. I really enjoy the relationships that I have in college with the players, and I know when you go to the NFL, it's a different beast. It's a different beast. You're coaching guys that make more than you, so you know, and that's part of the problem. But we never worry about that. But we always say that we want to work together eventually, and one day we will. One day we will. We still got some time left in this profession, but one day, we're all gonna be on the same staff, and we're gonna sit back and laugh about it.
yeah. Well, what about with an HBCU CU Roman? And if you did, what would be your top three schools that you would want to go coach at in the HBCU?
Well, you know what? I think they all have something unique about them. I think when you talk Texas Southern, you got the city of Houston, but you got the support. A lot of support. You go PV, they got big time facilities, and they have tradition down there. You go to, Southern and Grambling, they're the big dogs in the state of Louisiana. But the top ones, it's Southern would be one of them, and what Dooley's at right now. So I wouldn't want that job, because that means my boy would be out of a job. And I think you have to look at PV and Texas Southern,
Yeah,
because of the location. And you can recruit kids to the city. Because sometimes kids want to know if I have something to do. Now you also, when you recruit them to the city like that, you got to watch them, and you got to put tabs on them.
yeah,
And then when you go to the other side, you look at the other side. You look in Florida, you look at Bethune-Cookman, and Florida A&M is a really good school. And I wouldn't want to go Florida A&M, because that means my boy Willie Simmons will be out of job.
yeah,
Brown a great job. They all have their unique thing. Alabama State's a really good job. I mean,
right,
we was there. We know the support that you get at Alabama State and Alabama A&M. So they're all good jobs. And what Dion's doing in Jackson, and I tell people, I say, yo, Dion's got crowds, but Jackson supports. And that's one thing he has going for me. They really supporting what he's doing right now, and I respect what he's doing.
yeah. Now, were you surprised uh, them putting you at interim, meaning that usually they take a coordinator and make them the interim head coach? What was your feelings when they called you in and asked you to be the interim head coach?
Where I'm telling you, when he called me the first time, I didn't even answer. because it was after a loss. So I thought he was going in a different direction with everybody. So I'm like, I'm gonna hold tight. Then I came in the office and got the text for him to come see him, and he informed me what had just happened, that what he's just done, and he asked me to be interim, and out of respect, for Trev, because I do respect Trev, to the utmost, and I do trust and respect this university, love this university, and with Coach Osborne being a part of it, I said okay. I would accept it, especially with the kids that was in the locker room. And trust me, I didn't know all. I didn't have a chance to know all of them because I just got here in December. So I'm still getting to know them, and I didn't know any of the kids, too many of the kids on defense. But it worked out. It worked out, and we got it. Immediately we changed the day we was going to be off because it happened on a Sunday. So what I wanted to do is keep them in this building long as possible because there's a whole bunch of noise out there, and not let them just leave the building after the announcement was made, and now they're hearing all of this, that we got them right into a routine of watching the film, lifting, and then gave them off Monday because knowing that they're gonna start school and they got to go to class in here, and just talk to them about blocking out the noise. But it was a good feeling, but I knew it was gonna be a challenge. I knew it was gonna be a
Yeah,
challenge.
yeah. I was gonna say, man, you up against, it's unfair, uh, but the opportunity, when preparation and opportunity meets, success occurs, and I hope that they see you, that you got the know-how to make this happen. It's just you being given this opportunity, to take the program over. And I think it would be good for the school as well, being the only and ever African American coach in any sport, in 2023, would say a lot. It does say a lot about Trevor as the athletic director, and as you said, President Clark, to do that, to make that decision. Because look, at the end of the day, you can't do no worse than what has taken place in Nebraska. If anything, it's going to take a Nebraska man uh, to turn this thing around. Hey, we coming to the end, Coach. Man, I appreciate you taking the time out,
Appreciate you having me.
to come talk. Uh, and it just shows you the person that you are.
Yeah.
So you got any final remarks you want to leave my audience?
Well, my thing is, we want to wish everybody happy holidays. With the holidays coming up, be safe, enjoy your family. Tomorrow's not promised. And my thing is, stay work day by day, especially young coaches in profession. Continue to work, continue to grind, continue to do what's right in this profession, and it's going to work out for you. But only control what you can control, because some of the things you can't control, and you worry about things you can't control, that's when you lose your mental. That's when you start going crazy. And right now I'm in a good state of mind, and I'm feeling good. I'm excited about this Wisconsin game coming up. I'm excited about the kids coming in the building this morning watching film, and to get back on the practice field tomorrow, and get the next opportunity. Get the next opportunity, and that's what I'm looking forward to.
Okay. Thank you, Coach. Man, I love you. Tell the
Love you
family I
too,
said
big dog.
we'll be in touch, man.
Yes, sir.
All right.
We will. Have
All
a
right.
good day.
All right. You too. Thank you.
All right.
Well, that's the show. Mickey Joseph on the verge of being maybe the first black head football coach uh, for the University of Nebraska. I want to thank slowburnwaco.com for their continued support. And I keep forgetting, hit the subscribe button to the lunch break, Johnny Cole's HBCU Stroll, and then look, hit the share button and the like button and all those buttons, to keep our show going. I want to thank you guys for continuing to support me. Um, the show is going great. The numbers are looking great. I've had next week. I'm gonna have Coach Gary Flea from Jackson State. He's the assistant head coach at Jackson State. He also used to be a head coach at Howard. He'll be on my show. And then the week after that, uh, I'm in the process of trying to get movie stars, some movie stars on the show. Um, so I'm working on that. But as I always say, if you feel yourself at the end of the rope, tie a knot, hold on tight, because ain't nobody bad like you.
Wilkes with what you need to know. Today is Monday, November 14th, 2022, and we're back at it. Number 1, while Democratic control of the U.S. House is still undecided, the leadership of the Senate is in its sights. Full control of the upper legislative body comes down to Georgia's December 6th runoff election. The long-awaited results of Arizona and Nevada were announced this weekend, giving 50 Senate seats to Democrats and 49 to Republicans. Neither Democratic incumbent Reverend Raphael Warnock nor Republican challenger Herschel Walker received 50% of the vote plus one, resulting in Georgia's runoff, where early voting is now underway. Number 2, the Biden administration is no longer accepting applications for student loan forgiveness after a second judge ruled Thursday against the Biden debt program. District Judge Mark Bittman charged the president overstepped his authority by going around Congress. The debt forgiveness plan would cancel $10,000 in student loan debt for those making less than $125,000 in income. Pell Grant recipients were given an additional $10,000 in forgiven debt. And that pause due to the pandemic is lifted as of January 1st. Number 3, several Southern California hospitals have begun using overflow tents outside of emergency rooms to cope with a rising number of patients with flu and other respiratory illnesses. The San Diego Union Tribune reported Friday that tents were put up at Scripps Memorial Hospital and Encinitas Jacobs Medical Center, at UC San Diego Health in La Jolla, and Sharp Grossmont Hospital in La Mesa. This move comes amid a rise in flu symptoms in emergency room patients in San Diego County. About 9% of these patients had flu symptoms last week, up from 7% 2 weeks ago. Number 4, a Volusia County, Florida elementary school counselor at the Holly Hill School is pressing charges against a 10-year-old black boy after accusing him of groping her during a hug. The student was suspended from the school and is now facing a misdemeanor battery charge while his family is fighting against it. The boy's lawyer says his client is falsely accused and the school did not have a thorough investigation into the claims. Number 5, it's Ministry Monday. And the question is asked, what is the church? Well, a lot of people identify it as being a building, when actually, according to Ephesians 1:22-23, the church is the body of Christ. It reads, "And God placed all things under his feet and appointed him to be head over everything for the church, which is his body, the fulfillment of him who fills everything in every way." Read more about what is the church in today's Ministry Monday in the What You Need to Know newsletter. Here's your daily inspiration from Yogi's Jewels. Let go of the noise that blocks your peace. Woo. Join me today live on YouTube and Facebook at 7 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. Central, with comedians extraordinaire Chris Paul and Huggy Lowdown, as we discuss today's top headlines and more. To subscribe to my free daily newsletter, please visit SybylWilkes.com. Be informed, be empowered.
BS3 Network, changing the way you watch TV.